All right, so I'm going to help Charlie out a little bit on this one because I did see his video, and this is something that I saw a while ago that I was looking at, and I don't think he quite understood exactly what was going on. I'm not sure if he actually read the entire SEC order or if it was, I don't know. I'm not sure where. I would imagine he did, but I don't know because I don't see why he's confused. I understood immediately after watching the video where he gets mad that the proposed rule change deletes the phrase from associating with a member. The reason for that is because the way that it is written, if you were to actually get in trouble for a suspension and they tried to bar you or say that you're not eligible for a CMA or whatever the case may be, it basically states that you're getting a final regulatory action if you had a suspension from associating with a member instead of a direct suspension in general. It narrowed the scope and it was a way for people to get out of this fucking thing. So you have to make sure wording is correct. You already know I'm a wordsmith. I'm a stickler for fucking grammar and shit, and that was very easy for me to understand why they were taking that out. Because someone could say, hey, you had a suspension. That's a final regulatory action. You no longer qualify for a CMA. And then they go, no, 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 I wasn't suspended from associating with a member. My suspension was for something else, and that's a problem. That's a way to get out of this. The whole order is actually good. Um, if you aren't familiar with Finra, you basically have to register with Finra if you want to be a professional with anything to do with the stock market. Anything. If you want to be a broker, a hedge fund, a financial advisor, anything like that, you have to register with Finra. Um, they made some changes that are actually good. And actually, I went down and read this just to double check. They actually tell you why they removed suspension from a member. Because exactly what I stated, that it narrowed the final regulatory actions and it gave them a way out. It gave them a way to say, oh, I was suspended, but I was never suspended from associating with a member. Um, that's the difference there. It wasn't supposed to be suspension from associating with a member. It was supposed to say that all of these things in conjunction together, comma, from associating with a member. So removing that broadens the scope and doesn't allow that little loophole that was there. And I mean, this is also very good. Like if anybody works, you every 3 years you have to do a CMA. You have to basically recertify yourself um, with Finra every 3 years. I actually think it's 2 years from your initial date when you're first certified with them. You have 2 years to recertify yourself, and then from there it's every 3 years you have to recertify yourself. And this rule basically says that if anywhere within 5 years you have any of this shit, if you have one final regulatory issue, which would be any of this shit right here, like a total monetary sanction, which he got upset about that in his video. It was like $15,000. What the fuck? Which, I don't think he quite understood what he was reading, or he may not have read this entire thing. This is good. That means that if this was at 15 grand or above 15 grand, so to put it in perspective, Robinhood's $70 million fine definitely qualifies as a final regulatory action. Like, that would qualify as that. Um, it's civil administrative penalties, fines, disgorgement, monetary penalties, other than fines, or restitution, where ordered for a dollar amount at or above 15 grand. So if you did some serious shit, you may not be able to be approved. And then the second one, you have to have two, uh, whatever the fucks they call it, the specified risk, yeah, specified risk events. If you have two or more of those, you may not be able to get your approval for your CMA. You may not be able to continue being a Finra member until you do whatever. I haven't looked into all those requirements, like if you do end up with that shit within 5 years, do you have to wait until it's no longer been 5 years, or is there another protocol to get around it? I don't know, but either way, this is actually a good thing. They're looking at little things, little loopholes that could allow somebody who's done some shady ass shit to remain being FINRA certified. And fuck that, man. Like, seriously, this is something that needed to be looked at, has needed to be looked at. And I mean, this is a good thing so far. I mean, either way, it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if this qualifies them for automatic disqualification, or if it just means that it has to be scrutinized more and looked into more to find out exactly what happened, who was responsible, whatever the case may be. Either way, like I said, when I first watched the video, I immediately understood that this was good. This means anything $15,000 or over that they accrued in civil or administrative penalties or fines, or pretty much anything negative that they had to pay money out for malicious malpractice, whatever the case may be, or this right here, this was very understandable. They need to change that out, because the way that it's written literally means that it would have to be a suspension from associating with a member, but that's not what they meant. That was just telling them, all that shit and then suspended, and they're not allowed to deal with an associated member or whatever the case may be. So now they just broaden the scope of that. I'll go further into detail. I'll figure this shit out. I really don't have time to be doing these things, but I will, just because I think Charlie may have sped read this and misinterpreted it, or he went to this order and didn't scroll down far enough to read where the SEC has clarification on why that's removed. Um, so again, just want to make sure correct information is getting out there. I know he's on the warpath with FINRA does suck. They have a lot of shitty regulations and rules and loopholes and ways around things, so it's very easy to be biased, and I'm sure he has just read an inordinate amount of FINRA fucking rules, and they suck. For the most part, they all do suck. It's a joke, but the fact that they are trying to put shit in place now that hopefully this does deter people with criminal activities or bullshit fucking dings on their record in 5 years from being able to continue practicing, in the securities market, because it's fucking ridiculous. It's crazy to me. Citadel, for sure, them motherfuckers have been fined so many times for shit. For shit that should be considered fraudulent, malpractice, and harmful to the stock market. They should have their FINRA certification revoked, and they shouldn't be allowed to fucking participate in any of this shit for some extended period of time, I would imagine. But that's really what this is saying. Again, the boy got that good YouTube weed, man. I'm telling you.